Good morning, guys. It's Leo again. It's been a while since I've made a video. I'm going to take this phone now and show you what we've done here. This is a Bazooka video, and as you see, I have a Bazooka. I soaked it in some water this morning. I washed it. I don't know. I washed it 3 weeks ago or so after I finished taping my last big house. This house we're sitting in has got over 20,000 feet of drywall in it. I also, before I get started with that thing, I take a little water, and as you'll see, I get a little bit of water here in the cup, and I'll actually pour it down the back of the tube. Now, any dry mud in there will release. So when I start it, my cable's not binding up against my plunger. Now, I went through this house already, and as you can see, I did some prep work. I always do prep work. Now, I also always fee out my butt joints when it comes to taping with a tube. As you see, I cut them out pretty good, and I filled them with mud. Now I go around and I look for any gaps. I look for any big breaks. You'll see one up here in this foyer up here. That was a monster break right there. I had to fill. This house is pretty big. This is another reason I'm taping it with a tube. I started yesterday, hand taped a little bit upstairs, and you see I filled these were small gaps in the flats. They weren't big, but if they're pre-filled prior to taping with the tube, then what happens is the tape sometimes it ridges out in the middle, and it's because the mud squishes in and somehow it pulls back out. But this is a Durabond mud that I'm using. You see, I've got places just about everywhere. I filled corners. Anything that can affect me running these machines and making time. I try to make the drywall square in the corners. You see there's some big gaps up there. There's still a gap I have to fill here, but I need a little bit of scaffold for this room here. That was a big gap right there. The hangers used a router to put the flat together. You can see some breaks over here. There's a big break over here. There was another big break up there on that flat that I had to fill. Another one here. Now these are all pre-filled, so when I lay my tape on there with my Bazooka and I go across my angles with my glazer, everything's gonna come out flat and smooth. So that's the first step that I do before I run a tube. Now this took me, I don't know, an hour and a half this morning to walk through just the downstairs of this house. The upstairs has got 4 rooms. It's got a big coffered ceiling in it. Right here. There is crown molding up inside it, but the bottoms are gonna have to be finished with beads. This is the front room here. The hangers did a really good job. There's 3 bedrooms up there that are 3 different sizes. You can't really see them that well, but they're 3 different heights. And then we have a big garage with a great room over the garage. But this is a Bazooka video, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mix up some mud for this. So you see I opened the buckets. I took out mud on the top so I could add water. Now, these two right here have already been mixed a little bit, and because I used them for hand taping yesterday, but today we're gonna run this bucket that's open. I'm gonna show you how I mix it for the tube. So I'm gonna give the phone back to Tyler, and I'm gonna mix this mud up. Now what I'm gonna do is I put my paddle in there, and this mud's pretty thick. So for the consistency of the Bazooka mud, I'll add a couple of cups of water right off the bat. Now I'm using, I don't know what this is, it's a 32 ounce, let's see. It's a 28 ounce cup of Gatorade that I've cut the top off right at the top. Now you gotta be careful. Some paddles will actually make the mud explode if the water sucks down in too fast, so variable speed drills are important. You don't want to be shooting mud all over the place. I've seen it. 2 cups. I actually want it a little bit thinner, so I'm going to add about another half a cup. So this is green wood all purpose. You want it to be almost like a level 5 spray mud. It's pretty thin. Let me put my knife in there and show you guys what I got. I want it to pour pretty good. You see it pouring and it's a little lumpy. Now this is for flats and butt joints. Now what I'll do for angles is mix it slightly thicker. Because when you roll them, if you're pushing hard enough, you get all the mud out of the angle. Then when you glaze it, it makes a really nice full angle. I could probably go just a little bit thinner. Consistency is pretty much everything. It makes the bazooka running easier. It's easier on your arms. Now that's what I want. A couple bubbles coming out. It's very thin. And that's your consistency. Now you see, this was my paper mud yesterday. It's pretty thin. I run thin mud, but it's definitely not as thin as that bazooka mud. So I'll add a little bit more. This should be pretty good. Let me see how it pours off the knife. Pretty good. All right, so let's go to my third one. I typically mix up 3 and then I'll mix up a couple more later. I'll put about a half one in here. I added some of the thicker mud to this. It's only about a half a bucket. You see the 2 bubbles come out? I like the 2 bubbles. That lets me know it's really thin. This will pump through your bazooka pump easy. And you'll have no problems. Now, this morning, I replaced the razor on my tube. Because the last, I don't know, I ran it 3 or 4 houses. And bigger houses. I don't really use the bazooka unless the house is probably 15,000 feet. I'll hand tape most of them. The reason I'm using it in this, I like the glazed angles, and it makes it a lot easier to make speed. Anyway, I'm going to get out of here right now, and then my next video is going to show you about the bazooka itself. All right, thank you.